greatest experience. It was a group home. I was among teenagers when I was just 12. They were all 17, 18. And the foster parents were really aggressive with us, and I would witness them throwing some kids up the stairs or not allowing us to eat. I was probably in 9 places, maybe 10, all the way till I was 19. And some of them were pre-adopted. One was pre-adoptive. There was no stable. You needed someone to call mom and dad or something, and you never really had that. You were always worrying if you were gonna be moved or taken away again. You wouldn't let yourself open up and trust someone.
I think it's so important because the kids have to go somewhere. They're not going home, they have to go somewhere. So, their choices are a shelter, a terrible foster home, or I can provide a home for them, where they're loved, they're taken care of, their needs are met. I guess my husband and I feel very called to this because we want to stop that generational sin, and we want to give children an opportunity to have a brand new life.
When I was a little girl, I used to pretend that my baby dolls were adopted. So it was just something we knew that we wanted biological children, but I just felt that the Lord had placed a longing in my heart that eventually we would adopt. We decided to go ahead and go forward with the adoption, and when that didn't take place immediately, I had been thinking, because the agency had kept asking us, would you foster? And so I mentioned it to Steve, what do you think? And he was like, no, we'll just wait. And as time went on, he came to me and said, I've been thinking about fostering, what do you think? And let's try it. Let's just try it and see what happens. And
it was really neat the way it happened because, like I said, Sammy never really pressured me. She just expressed her interest in it. And I think it was God that was just stirring in my heart, letting me know that, we should really look in on this. And so we tried it, and we've been doing it now for about a year.
One of the most common comments that I get when I tell someone that we're a foster family is, how do you do that? Oh, I could never do that. I could never love those babies and then let them go. And when we let our first one go, I still get emotional about it. I couldn't imagine life without him. I just couldn't. He had become such part of our family. And the day after he left, I woke up so full of joy, and the Lord had really taken what we had done, and the Lord, I felt like the Lord just had, when I woke up, had just told me, it's not about what you lost, it's about what you gave him, not about what you lost.
Then God just kept putting newspaper articles or TV articles about these kids being abused or neglected or even killed, and I was like, somebody's got to do something about this. And the Holy Spirit was like, yep, you do. And I was like, no, wait, maybe you don't see, I have a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old. This is not the time. Maybe later, when they're older, we'll get into that. But when the Holy Spirit just sits something on you, when God sits something on you, you feel uneasy inside until you actually do what you're supposed to do. And so it took me a month to tell my husband that I thought this is what we were supposed to do, because he was good with 1 kid. I pushed him to 2 kids, and now I'm telling him, let's take on somebody else's kids. So we dove in, he prayed about it, and God spoke to him too, and so we started the classes in February of '07, and in May of '07 we welcomed this little 7-month-old brown-haired, brown-eyed little girl named Ava Joy. We had no plans of adopting. We were just going to foster, take care of these kids while we had them, and then send them on. But that, again, that wasn't God's plan. He already knew that AJ was supposed to be in our family forever. The biggest joy is getting to see these, like with AJ, is just getting to see her come from this terrified, insecure, scared little girl who would wrap her arms around my neck, would not let me go when I would have to pass her off to anybody else, terrified of anybody, to now she goes to preschool, now she goes to sleepovers, she has friends, and she's happy. And the reason her middle name is Joy is because she smiles all the time. She's a happy little girl. And to see that, see the change, and she has some brothers too, and the same thing. They went from being labeled all these different diagnoses, put on all these medication, to they just got adopted last month. They're on no medication, and their oldest brother is in honors math. You know, just to see the change from a kid that was unwanted and abused to a kid that's wanted and loved makes all the difference. If at some point in their lives they have been loved and they felt that love and they've been in some kind of family, it helps them through the rest of their lives to be able to attach, to be able to give love, to be able to receive love. It's the kids that never have that in their lives that are the ones that end up with the stories you see on the news, that are, you know, have no feelings, they have no, you know, they don't feel, so they do all these horrible crimes because they've never felt love, and they've never been able to accept love or give love. So yeah, I think if you, for whatever time you have them, if you're home, if you love on them and show them that, they see what a family is, they go to a church, they see what friends and, you know, extended family, that's gonna translate into the rest of their life. So with foster care, obviously you can be a foster or adoptive parent, but you can also be a respite provider. Like I said, with the weekend, you can do childcare for a weekend, or you can be an emergency placement. So a kid gets pulled out in the middle of the night, then you can be that home that he comes to or she comes to, so they don't have to go to a shelter. They come into somebody's house, they have a bed, they have somebody that's there one-on-one with them. They're not in just some, like an orphanage. You can do emergency placements on a temporary basis. You can go all the way up to medical needs kids who, you know, you can do hospital sitters. You can go sit in a hospital when kids get pulled out, if they have, you know, medical issues, they'll go to the hospital. Well, obviously they don't have anybody to sit with them. Their biological family's not allowed to, but they're not in a foster family yet. So Pathways has a program called Hospital Sitters. So around the clock, they try to get adults in there. So this little 18-month-old, or imagine your 2-year-old, 4-year-old sitting in a hospital room by himself. That would be terrifying. And you know, they just got ripped out of their home, and they were probably, you know, something bad was going on. So now they're in this hospital with all these different noises and all these different people. So that you go in there and you sit with this little child, or you rock them, or you know, just be there for them. So that's one of the things you can do. Also, we do day one bags, which is like, if you can't do any of the above, well then maybe you can just fill up a bag so that when that foster family gets a placement in the middle of the night, that next day we can take them a bag that has the essentials, you know, some bottles, some diapers, 2 outfits, 2 jammies, and so they don't have to rush out in the middle of the night and try to go find all that stuff. We have that for them. So that's some of the different ways that you can invest in the kids, you know. I think you need to pray about it. If you're married, you and your husband need to be on the same page for sure, because it's challenging. I mean, it's going to challenge a lot of aspects of your life, your time, your schedule, your routine. So that first, you need to be on the same page. Secondly, you need to, you know, investigate all the different ways you can invest in orphans. I mean, as Christians, we're called to care for the fatherless, the defenseless. And there's many ways to do that. If you want to be a foster parent, obviously jump in. You can go to classes, you can go to informational meeting, which we're going to have here at the church, you know, Sunday evening and then the following Sunday. So you can get even more information, get a little more educated about what it is and all the different aspects of it. You could do respite care, which is, we need to go out of town, but we can't take her with us. You can do, you know, do child care, or she has a visit downtown, but both parents work. Well, you can be that transporter that every Wednesday you pick her up and take her to her visit, and you can talk to these kids and you can really, you know, invest in them. Just all they need somebody consistent. That's the biggest thing. So if you are even considering it, know that when you go into it, there's different things that you can do, different levels to take care of these kids or invest in these kids' lives. It is a lot. I mean, and depending on the age group and the child that you get, it can totally change your whole family. And AJ did that to us, but I wouldn't change that. I mean, I went from working 2 days a week to now I don't even work anymore. I was going to be a therapist owning my own clinic, and now I don't even do therapy because this is what fills me up. This is my passion. This is what drives me. So yeah, it may totally change your world, but if you're called to that, it's supposed to.
I mean, it's really hard. It's probably one of the hardest things you'll ever do. But I mean, at the end of the day, we have to answer for what we've done with our lives, you know, and I have so much to give. How can I face the Lord and say, well, I just didn't have time, or I didn't have money, or I was afraid about, you know, how hard it would be on me. You know, you think about what these children go through and how hard it is on them. And there's just, at the end of the day, there's no excuse I can come up with to not do what the Lord has called us to do.
You know, there's ways to get around every obstacle. You just have to open your heart.
There's no excuse.
That's exactly right. There is no excuse. You just have to just open your heart and step out in faith. And it's amazing. The rewards and the blessings are so much more than the sacrifice and the heartache.